For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Always follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
All right, welcome in. Follow the Money show presented by DraftKings. Mitch on vacation all week. Matt Youmans sitting in. Good times all week. And JT the Brick coming up later in the show. Raiders preview. Jonathan Von Tobel on the draft. And also Jonathan Davis on Game 7 tonight. Stanley Cup Final. Do you concur as well? Waiting on John Murgis. But again, there was a great article on him in the Chicago Sun-Times about his life growing up working in the mob in the 80s. We'll go on Audible here and switch it around with the Raiders. So, you know, our guide's coming out Thursday, and we did the Broncos on Friday, and I think they're going to be right there with one of the worst teams in the league, and they're going to have issues offensively.
Got a tough schedule, too.
Yes, yeah. And you have a great breakdown on one of these teams, which we'll get to later in the week on a win total you love. But today it's the Raiders, and the win total is 6.5, over minus 130 at DraftKings. They went 8-9 last year, and they got shaky quarterback play, and that's being kind. And with the numbers, they were 27th in points per game and 27th in yards. The weapons are there. And now you get Wilkins. So the 1-2 punch of Wilkins and Crosby, what they have defensively, really, it's a good defense anyways, in the additions they made. But the whole thing comes down to who's the quarterback. And if it is Minshew, and he's only $2, he's only $2 to be the starter week one at DraftKings. But you saw the growing pains and what O'Connell went through. But when you have Adams and Bowers and Myers and Mayer, certainly, and it didn't work out for Garoppolo either. I mean, injuries and didn't play well. But if you can get average quarterback play or above average quarterback play with these weapons, this is a team that should go over their win total. And I would think 7-10 is not a tough assignment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Okay, so the Jets went 7-10 last season. They had some of the worst quarterback play in the history of the league. 11 TD passes, 15 interceptions by their three-man quarterback rotation, and still won 7 games. But they had one of the best defenses in the league. Hey, the Raiders actually, if you look since Antonio Pierce took over in the final 9 games, Raiders had numbers among the best defenses in the NFL. But I'm going to start with the offense for you. When you're talking about the Raiders or AFC in general. Paul, there was a quarterback in the AFC last season. In his final 4 starts, he had 8 touchdown passes, no picks, and his team went 3-1. Who would you guess that is in the AFC? 8 TDs, no picks, his team went 3-1 the final 4 starts. Would you say Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew? Who would you be guessing? How about Aiden O'Connell
Get
of
out
the
of
Raiders?
Here. Come on. The guy who didn't complete a pass for 3 quarters on the Christmas game.
Yeah, but that's what everybody remembers. The thing is, he played well in the other games and some of the other games. And the one thing as a handicapper, you got to erase that from your mind. Draw a line through what happened in that game in Kansas City. Yeah, he didn't complete a pass in the second half. But if you look at his final 4 starts, 8 touchdowns, no picks. Over the final 4 starts for Trevor Lawrence, 7 TDs, 7 picks. And Lawrence just got paid $55 million a year. You have a lot of people think, well, O'Connell can't get it done. Now, I'm not saying Aiden O'Connell is going to be a Pro Bowler, but at the same time, the Raiders can win with him. I don't think he's going to start Week 1, and the reason is when you look at the Raiders' schedule, they open at the Chargers, at the Ravens. When you're opening a season on the road against 2 really good teams and good defenses, and I think the Chargers are going to be a playoff team in the AFC this year. You don't want a young quarterback necessarily starting the season. Gardner Minshew's got a lot of experience. I think he should probably be a little bit more than a $2 favorite to open Week 1.
That's a good breakdown. Yes, I'm with you.
So you want the veteran starting in the first 2 road games, Week 1 and Week 2 against the Chargers and Ravens. Now, if you get through, let's look at that Raiders schedule one more time, because if you get through the first, I'm going to say 6 weeks, and the Raiders play the Steelers in Week 6.
Panthers Week 3.
Yeah,
Browns at home.
Panthers should be a gimme. It should be a gimme win, right? Every schedule you look at, you chalk up the Panthers as a win. So you should beat the Panthers and the Browns at home. You got the Broncos on the road. The Raiders have beat the Broncos 8 straight times. That doesn't mean they're going to beat them 9 in a row. And home against the Steelers in Week 6. I'm going to say Minshew's the quarterback for the first 6 weeks. But if the Raiders somehow are 2-4 after those first 6 games, I could actually see Antonio Pierce making a quarterback switch and say, hey, we're going to go to the younger guy because Minshew's not getting it done. But Minshew's going to be your guy, I'm pretty certain, for the first, let's say, third of the season.
I agree with all that. That's the other thing was they were 20th in turnover differential. So if they can cut that out, that's something else that will help them. And, the Minshew discussion is interesting because they have, vagabond, no man, all of it. I mean, the guy, they're one play away from winning the division last year. If that guy catches the ball on the well-designed play on 4th down, they're going to win the game and win the division.
Sure.
So, the numbers weren't great, but I know Steichen did an excellent job too, but Minshew was this close to winning the division.
I think they can win with Minshew. They can win with O'Connell.
You can sling
too.
it.
They proved O'Connell was 5-5 as a starter, 5-4 after Pierce took over.
Well, he's being priced like they're being priced like he's a bum, though. He's not a bum.
Who's that?
He's Minshew.
No,
6.5.
He's not a
with
bum
the
at all.
Right,
No.
with the weapons that they have.
Problem
And
with
that defense is 6.5 win total. 2.5 in the division, by the way.
Yeah, the problem with Minshew has been consistency. He'll play really well one week, and then the next week he stinks. And, if he can knock that out. But, of course, he's still a developing quarterback. It's not like he's a 10-year veteran in the league. So the Raiders are loaded with receivers. I actually think the Chiefs would envy what the Raiders got in terms of skill position weapons. When Devontae Adams, I think, is still a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Jacoby Myers, Michael Gallup, Trey Tucker.
Yep,
That's a great set of 4 wide receivers. Tight ends, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers. Okay, and a lot of people might have said, why would you draft Brock Bowers a year after you draft Mayer? Well, when you have mediocre quarterbacks, you need to help them out. And nothing helps out a quarterback more than 2 tight ends who can make plays over the middle of the field. And I actually think with Mayer and Brock Bowers, the Raiders' offense is going to be dangerous. And that's going to help those quarterbacks, whether it's Minshew or O'Connell, tremendously. Think about the Patriots. When was Tom Brady really most effective? It was when he had the 2 tight ends, Gronk and Hernandez. And rarely did he have outstanding wide receivers, right, in that Patriots offense. Raiders have outstanding receivers and tight ends. I think the running back position's in pretty good shape. And the offensive line, you got Colton Miller, who's a Pro Bowler, Andre James, who really stepped up last season. I think the line's going to be much better. I like Zamir White and Alexander Madison in the backfield. This Raiders offense could be really, really good. Is the guy pulling the trigger going to be good enough? I think they can win with Minshew. But if they don't win in September in the first 6 games, I wouldn't be surprised they'd make a quarterback change. I'll jump to, we'll talk about the defense a little bit, Paul, but I did the AFC write-ups for the VSiN NFL betting guide, AFC West, and I actually recommended Raiders over 6.5 at -130. If you break down the schedule, I don't think it's that difficult to find 7 or maybe 8 wins for the Raiders. And they were an 8-9 team last year when they had all sorts of things going wrong in the first half of the season.
Right, so Denver last place. Kansas City wins it.
Broncos got a brutal schedule. Also, the Broncos' quarterback play could be among the worst in the NFL unless Sean Payton works a miracle with one of those 3 guys. I don't like the Broncos this year. I think it's going to be the worst year of Payton's coaching career.
So, but again, I echo all your sentiments here. We're on the same page. But they're being priced like it's going to be a bad offense or suspect quarterback play. At DraftKings, fewest points on the season. New England plus 320, Denver 4-1, Raiders are the third choice at 7-1. I mean, if I compare their offense to Tennessee, Raiders by a blowout. Come on, if you look at skill position players and who they have. And even, in the Steelers.
You can argue the Raiders got better skill position players than the Chiefs. I think you can.
Yeah.
Outside the quarterback, obviously.
I think they'll score more points than the Steelers, too. And the Steelers are 8-1. Carolina's 8-1. I mean, with what they have and who Minshew's throwing to, here's the one thing I can't get out of my head. Season's on the line. Potential playoff spot last year at Indy. and Pierce is punting from 4th and 1 repeatedly from midfield and at the 40-yard line.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's you can't do that. It's not 1982.
There's a lot of coaches who make that mistake, though. There's a lot of coaches. He's not the only one.
Okay, but I will say this. They like him, and they like him a lot.
Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, the leaders of the team, are the most vocal supporters for Antonio Pierce. And that's something I think you have to emphasize in your handicapping, too. They're going to play hard for this coaching staff. They lobbied for this coaching staff. They got the job. They're going to play hard for these guys. And actually, Crosby's got 27 sacks the last 2 years. You can make a case that he's the best defensive player in the NFL, top 5. And I really think the Raiders have built this defensive line around him pretty impressively. I don't want to sound like a Raiders fan in this breakdown here, but this defense, after Patrick Graham and Antonio Pierce took over and Josh McDaniels was fired on Halloween, the Raiders' defense allowed 16 points a game over the final 9 games. That ranks right up there among the best in the NFL, Paul. I don't know if they can keep it going, the momentum going from last season to this, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be bad. I think the Broncos are going to be bad. And when you look at the win totals, Raiders at 6.5, Broncos 5.5. I think the Raiders juiced over. I think they sneak over that win total. Okay, and they couldn't stand McDaniels. He personally blew so many games with ridiculous decisions in his Raider tenure, and what he did. And we'll ask JT coming up. But 6-3 at home last year. You know, the owner, Mark Davis, it pisses him off, but you always see opposing fans come in, and a lot of times That's just part of it, though. That's part of being in Vegas. Okay. I think the crowd support at Raiders home games has been phenomenal for the Raiders. You've been to games, right?
Yeah.
Nothing to complain about.
Well, okay. But I know he's sick and tired of that, but we'll see if that changes as well. But certainly fans of opposing teams always come in a lot of Denver, Chiefs, 49ers.
I think he's happy with the value of his franchise skyrocketing since he moved to Vegas from Oakland.
Is it time to jump in with a future on this team? Do you concur? Coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
All right, our NFL betting guide drops this Thursday. Never been a better time to become a VSiN Pro subscriber. Musburger's picks, The Godfather. Youmans does a great job on the AFC West. Win totals, props, everything you want. Power ratings. To get the guide, you must be a VSiN Pro subscriber. 13 months, less than 50 cents a day. Code FTM. FTM's the code. VSiN.com/subscribe. Here we go.
Great moments in history have begun with a question.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
And what kind of hair product does Mitch Moss use? But Follow the Money wants to know.
Do you concur? Concur with that?
What?
Sir, do you concur?
All right, Matt. If Florida loses tonight, it is not the biggest choke in sports. Do you concur?
I concur. I actually think the biggest choke in sports was the Yankees in 2004 against the Red Sox. The Yankees obliterated the Red Sox in the first 3 games. Everybody thought that series was over. And for that to happen for the first time in baseball history, that to me is always going to be the biggest choke.
I think it's the Atlanta Falcons. 28-3 late in the third quarter. 28-3 late third. It's over. So you can't lose that game. That's horrendous what happened.
Okay, that's right up there near the top of the list, if not the top of the list.
Let's go back though. Well, there's certainly, and I know it's happened one time before, but it was 1942, and John Caponera, a Chicago comic, has a good line about back then. You used to get a win if you knocked over the milk bottle at the county fair. I mean, it was just a whole different time. But the Yankee series. Did Rivera blew back-to-back games. So not only did they blow the 3-0 lead, it never happened before in baseball. It's your hated rival. The Red Sox end the drought and the curse. And then the best closer of all time blows a couple leads, and the Ortiz and the bloody sock. But what was key, though...
Game 4, Game 5, yeah.
That's right. But what was key is the same thing tonight. And I keep going back to whoever gets the first goal tonight is going to win. What happened in Game 7? Avalanche. Didn't Damon at the Grand Slam, but Boston had a huge lead, and that was so.
Well, actually, in Game 3, the Yankees
blew them out.
Bombed the Red Sox 19-8.
Yes,
and everyone said,
A-Rod
"This is
hit a home
over.
run,
Yeah, it's all over." 19-8, and then Game 4, Rivera blows the save. Dave Roberts gets the steal. Everything that happens in the Red Sox won Game 7, 10-3 at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I got to go 0-4, and it's certainly Atlanta in the Super
Falcons,
Bowl. 28-3.
Make a good argument.
It's bad. So FTM@vsin.com. Tweet at us as well. Is Scotty Scheffler is ruining golf for sports bettors? Do you concur?
No, I don't. I don't concur. Now, I was frustrated going into the U.S. Open because I had bet guys on the futures board who finished second to Scotty a couple of times, including the previous week with Colin Morikawa before the U.S. Open. But no, I don't think you got to find ways. When you have a player that's dominant, you have to find ways to use him to your advantage, to find ways to profit off Scotty Scheffler's dominance, and that's basically what I did this past weekend by playing. Hey, you say 4-1, no value and a favorite in the golf tournament? Well, yes, there is when there's a player like Scotty Scheffler in a course like that. Or there are other ways you can bet him top 5, top 10, do whatever you want. There are ways when Scheffler falls, let's say 3, 4, 5 strokes behind the lead on a Friday, why bet him at a better number, right? Because that's not much of a difference. So I'm going to say no, he doesn't ruin golf betting. You got to find a way to turn a negative into a positive if you're not winning on a player.
The protesters should do a minimum 2 weeks in jail. Do you concur? You can protest peacefully, but when you do, like the people that disrupt traffic and shut down roads and everything, I mean, and then there was 6 of them come out of nowhere and trying to ruin the green.
It was ridiculous. You hate to see stuff like that. I thought the police that were there, the security, did a good job. Even though you could say they did not do a good job because they got onto the green.
And so many of them. Right.
There were like 5 of them that stormed the green. They did get those guys contained quickly, and they did knock the crap out of the one guy.
I know,
who got tackled in the middle of the green.
Yeah, right.
What the penalty should be, I don't know. Who the hell knows? But
well, you don't want to.
What's your point?
Right, because they're not going to show you on television anyway.
Well, you're protesting climate change, and you're doing it on the 72nd hole of a golf tournament. Find a different way to protest. That's not effective. What the hell? Seriously, what's the point? You're going to disrupt the Travelers Championship on the last hole and protest climate change? You really think you're accomplishing something?
Yeah.
No.
Adam Hadwin had the great tweet about, because the Canadian Open, because I even held on to my bottle, though, when the cop thought he was a spectator. And he was he did get body slammed, but that was a good takedown by security yesterday as well. Now is the time to add futures on the St. Louis Cardinals and Houston Astros. Do you concur?
Maybe last week was the time. Yeah, you can do it now. Yeah, I actually think the Cardinals and Astros have both, if you want to say come back from the dead, that would be accurate. A lot of people left them for dead. But yeah, if you didn't bet the Cardinals and Astros last week, you could bet them this week. I think both those teams are live, yes.
Okay. I took St. Louis 6-1 on Friday because I just think, I don't think Milwaukee can keep this up. And
Milwaukee just lost 3 out of 4 in San Diego. I think the Cardinals got a shot. I know there were some people who thought the Cardinals were going to be sellers at the deadline. Maybe Paul Goldschmidt was going to be on the market. I don't think so. I think the Cardinals and Astros are going to be in it.
Over the weekend, you saw the good and the bad of Hak Tua girl. Should she use this to her advantage? Do you concur?
Oh, of course. I saw Joe Rogan talking about this on a video over the weekend about how much he loves it when one person gets interviewed, throws some sort of catchphrase or something like that out there, and it becomes just a sensation in social media or whatever in general. I saw the Hak Tua thing over there. I said, "What is this?" So you had to look it up and try to figure out what it is, and I couldn't stop. I was laughing about. It's great. It's amazing how something like this just takes off.
I know. Can you believe it?
She is a instant celebrity. You have to capitalize on that because you got a short window, like the 15 minutes of fame.
Right.
You got to try
it's
to
like the Edmonton Oilers fan who doing Playboy now, but she took her top off at the. You're right. Yeah. So I thought it was like an Iron Sheik thing. I go Hak Tua because he used to do USA Hak Tua, Russia #1, Iran #1 Hak Tua. So this was Bryce Harper's doing it after he hit a double is a celebration now. So as I understand it, she was a school teacher. She may have been fired. Who knows what? It's social media. People, I don't know what's real, what's not. But this catchphrase and how this blew up now, and you just saw what happened with the Oilers fan, you are 100% right. You have your 15 minutes here.
Yeah.
I think she's already selling T-shirts. You have to get with the Haktua here. Incredible. Awesome.
Oilers fan. She capitalized
how about
on
that?
The
I know.
Flasher fan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I kind of forgot Playboy was even in existence,
yeah,
to be
right.
honest.
Sure. Okay, so are you telling me there's a chance? Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark, the madness, the fans going crazy, but Angel Reese is not out of this. Rookie of the Year. Do you concur? 25-16 in the win yesterday. 16-18. 11-13. 10-14. 20-10. 13-13. 16-11. If they make the playoffs of Chicago Sky and she continues to improve the offensive game, what she's doing every night in rebounds is nuts. Do you concur?
She's not out of it. I concur. Did you see the highlight clip of Angel Reese last week on the fast break where she double dribbled and traveled 3 times and it wasn't called?
Oh, yeah.
Huh? Yeah. That was sad.
That was sad.
Yeah. That's worse than anything I think I've ever seen in the NBA.
I know.
Yeah.
Right. Special whistle. I know.
I've also seen Angel Reese around the basket, around the rim, where she looks like she's blindfolded and throwing up wild shots. So I'm not going to lead the crusade for her to be Rookie of the Year, but she's got a shot.
I know Doug Kazarian was calling for like a yes-no, will she lead in rebounds? I know he tweeted that, so that's what a run, at least rebounding-wise, and then she was great with the offensive game. Okay, there you go. Do you concur? Very good. Did you want to say something about Donald Sutherland?
I forgot he was in this movie. I'm looking through the list. I talked about Dirty Dozen, Kelly's Heroes. You go way back, some of those classic movies Donald Sutherland was a part of. I forgot he was in Animal House in 1978.
Yes.
So you got to put that up there, too. Even though he wasn't the main star, the best movies Donald Sutherland was in, Animal House has to be in top 5.
Were you not a Hunger Games guy? Hunger Games?
I can't even remember that movie.
Okay. Jennifer Lawrence?
Okay.
No? Okay.
I'd have to watch it.
Whatever.
Again.
He's a phenomenal actor. I know it was a tough loss as well.
Talk about the classic movies of all time, of our youth.
Yeah.
Bad News Bears, Caddyshack, Animal House, Fast Times at
Ridgemont High. Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yep, no doubt. You nailed it. Sure, absolutely. I tell you, that's I don't know. I texted John at 2 a.m, and he retweeted everything. I just nowhere to be found. I hope he's okay. So, but again, I know Mitch's parody account tweeted. It's a great read. Guy was making book for the mob in Chicago in the 80s. It's a phenomenal story. Chicago Sun-Times. More on. I'll go over a couple tidbits of it as well. Game 7 up next. John Davis picks and props coming up.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So much up at vsin.com. Always Wes Reynolds on golf. We almost nailed it with Kim. He's so good. Our NFL betting guy, Brett Musburger, NFL picks, betting splits, best bets. Johnny Lazarus on Game 7 tonight. College Baseball World Series. Get up there. Check it out. Bookmark at vsin.com. Jonathan Davis joins us now. He's on the Progressive guest line at West Coast Hockey on X, host of the Ice Cap on Sirius XM NHL. And we'll go over picks and props here. Nothing better than a Game 7. I don't care the sport. This is the most important hockey game since 1994, Game 7 Rangers Vancouver. Do you concur?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I think from a national standpoint, look, every fan is going to say, look, my Stanley Cup was big, if there was a Game 7. But I think for the magnitude of the league, to have the best player in the game with a chance to win the cup, the way that they have done it down 3-0, it is huge for the league. This is like Michael Jordan in the NBA with a chance to win a championship.
Yeah, and for all those reasons, you have a future ticket on Florida 9-1. If Edmonton wins, you're like, okay, so be it. It's great for the sport. That's okay. I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. I really do want to see Connor hoist it. Now, look, I do have a saving grace in that I've got, 2 tickets on Connor at one at plus 225 before the Cup final for Conn Smythe, and then, jumped in big at minus $2 for Conn Smythe. So there is a saving grace here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, big picture, I think it's more important for Connor to win than the amount of money that I've got on Florida.
All right, JD, great to see you up early in the morning. Last week you were on the late night show with me, and you said before Game 6 that Connor McDavid was going to win the Conn Smythe, and you said basically it's a lock. So he went from minus 300 to minus 3,000 without scoring a point or taking a shot. Does that make total sense to you that the Oilers win, even though McDavid's not a big part of it? He's basically, you think, still a lock to win the Conn Smythe.
Well, yeah, I do, only because there was nobody else also that took, that jumped at the opportunity to take over from McDavid. And It's not like anyone on Florida, had a big game in Game 6. Bob laid another egg. There was nothing, Sasha Barkov was Florida's best player, and arguably the best player on the ice in Game 6, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, it was crazy because I do remember, after Game 5, it was at minus 145, and then to see after Game 6, it went to minus 3,000. I've never seen that in any. I can't recall any crazier jump in a betting line.
So are you looking at maybe Oilers on the reverse puck line? Because I agree with what Ray Ferraro said, that, well, it's just one game, you move on. Not Game 4. They found something, and he said Florida's shook, they're frozen, and they're scared. They don't know what hit them. Because going in, it was 11-1 Florida going into the third period of Game 3. Since then, it's 20-5 Edmonton. I think, this keeps cashing. How about the Oilers on the reverse puck line?
I think that if you like Edmonton tonight, I would either play them reverse puck line. I think that's last time I looked, it was plus 225, or play them to win in regulation at plus 155. If you want to go Edmonton, and I think that I'll do that to offset my Florida ticket. I'll look at one of those two, but I think that is definitely the way to go tonight if you want to play the Edmonton Oilers.
What else are you looking for tonight? Got some keys and some props here, and just how this has changed. And we mentioned it. We got the tidbit earlier. 14 to the last 15 Game 7s, 5 goals or fewer. Stanley Cup Game 7, 14 to the last 15, and historically Game 7s have been under machine, and we've seen as high as $1.50 to the under. But you think it could come out? No one makes a mistake early, first period under?
Yeah, I do. I think, look, I like the under for the game as well. I mean, God, it's incredible how it keeps getting juiced even higher. They don't want to move off 5.5 and drop it to 5. Totally understand that. So, yeah, I would also look at under 1.5 for the first period, and I'd look at under 5.5 for the game. I think those are two viable plays.
Even with the empty net scenario, which we just saw the bad beat Friday in Game 6?
Well, that's why I think I would, pick number one of the two would be first period under 1.5. And then again, there's where I do like the reverse puck line if you like Edmonton tonight.
How about the penalty kill? You made a great point off air that, because Maurice said I wouldn't have challenged if the goal that was disallowed early in the second period. This historic penalty kill, how about this? They're not only -1, you've allowed 4 power play goals but scored 3 shorthanded. 46 of the last 47 you've killed off, and you're 94% in the playoffs. I can't get over that.
Well, and the other thing is that, Pauly, there are 5 teams in the NHL that were all eliminated in round 1 that have given up more 5-on-4 power play goals than the Edmonton Oilers have given up in the Cup Final. They've only given up 4 total 5-on-4 power play goals. The Leafs, the Islanders, the Caps, the Kings, and the Jets have all gave up more 5-on-4 power play goals after round 1 than the Oilers. So going into that challenge, I think that's a lot of what. And you want to talk about someone else for Conn Smythe? Noah Siegel, the video coach for the Edmonton Oilers, deserves a lot of ups here and a huge raise for having for challenging, putting in the mind of the Oilers to challenge that call. Yeah. What a phenomenal job he did there.
A lot of talk about Bobrovsky and how he has not been as good. Is it just him, or is it the defense in front of him that's been breaking down as well? And Jonathan, is it a combination of the two? Why do you think the Florida Panthers have not been getting it done on the defensive end like they did in the first 3 games?
They've lost their mojo. I think the 8-1 pummeling was something that just, it seemed to crush their mindset. They're not the same attacking team that we've seen throughout the regular season and through the first 3 rounds and first 3 games of this series. I mean, they were a group that they were relentless, and they moved the puck out of their zone like a 5-man unit. They're like the Russian 5 moving up the ice in many respects. But the Oilers have found a way to break it down, and the Panthers just haven't been able to respond in any way. But look, the Stanley Cup playoffs are all about an opportunity to change the narrative. Whether it's you have a bad regular season, you got a chance to change it in the postseason. The Florida Panthers Paul Maurice has got to be telling his team, guys, who cares what happened in the last 3 games? It doesn't matter. It's one game tonight, winner take all. Put that all in the rearview mirror, and let's go out and win a hockey game tonight.
I understand that, but as a human being, I don't know. That's all they can think about. I mean, that's got to be a brutal plane ride home after Game 6 and knowing, especially if Edmonton gets the first goal tonight. That's all I'm thinking about. I played the damn sport. I mean, my God, this is an all-time choke job here. It's 3-0, and now we're gonna lose on our home ice. And everyone, I can't. That's all I'm thinking about if I'm Florida is how do we blow this?
Well, and that's very fair. I'm just saying that that's the only thing you can do if you're Paul Maurice. But also to your point about if Edmonton scores first tonight, and you can get it, anything I'd say under -200 for Edmonton in game, I'd also be jumping on the Oilers live line if they do score first.
Jonathan Davis with us. And JD, you remember back the start of the season how bad the Oilers were, and they made the coaching change and got everything turned around. How remarkable is this story that they have turned this thing around? Because I think a lot of people tend to forget how much of a train wreck they were in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, Matt, they were 2-9-1 to start the year.
Yeah.
They were 10 points out, I think, right around Thanksgiving, U.S. Thanksgiving. And U.S. Thanksgiving is usually, the marker that if you're more than 2 points out, actually it even goes to earlier in November 1st for some people. I think Elliot Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada uses that as his benchmark. You're more than 2 points out of a playoff spot, you're toast. And the job that Chris Knobloch has done, the one thing that he's talked about is that when he came in, he just said, Connor, don't worry about everything else. Worry about playing hockey. I'll deal with all the other aspects of helping to make this team better. And Connor was also hurt at the beginning of the year. So was their star defenseman Matthias Ekholm. Health definitely was an issue early on. Health is not an issue right now. The only health concern right now is also Leon Draisaitl. There's got to be something ailing him because he hasn't been the same since round 2.
You like any props?
Pauly, the only props would be first period under for me. I'm not doing anything shots on goal wise. 21 shots both teams had in Game 6. I'm going to stay away from the saves prop. I just think that the best play out there are the unders for the first period and unders for the game. I think the other stuff you're hoping for.
Skinner has won 5 straight elimination games. He's 10-0 in games 4 through 7 of a series. Are you more confident in Skinner or Bobrovsky?
Well, I'm more confident in the Oilers. I mean, Stuart Skinner has played really well, but he's only had to make 2, I'd say, 10-bell saves, games 4 through 7. It was Carter Verhaeghe in Game 4. It was Sasha Barkov in Game 6. In the second period when the score was 2-0. So he's made the saves he's had to. He hasn't been out. He hasn't had to be great.
Good to talk to you, friend. Looking forward to tonight.
Pleasure, guys. Enjoy the night.
Appreciate you. There it is. Jonathan Davis, West Coast Hockey on X, Sirius XM NHL on the Progressive guest line. Can't wait. I haven't been this excited for a hockey game since '94. Rangers, Vancouver, which was a great series and an awesome Game 7. Hope it lives up to the hype tonight. More on Game 7 and a stat you won't believe about home teams not getting it done in Game 7. Next, Follow the Money, Pauly Howard, Matt Youmans, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Training camp starting in less than a month. VSiN experts hard at work getting you ready for the upcoming NFL season. Our all-new NFL betting guide drops this Thursday. In-depth profiles of every team, advanced stats, win total bets, props, futures. Celebrate the release of the guide. We're going all out with special coverage throughout the day. Tune in this Thursday for great analysis, insider tips, and all the NFL news you want to start the season strong. The only way to get the all-new NFL betting guide, become a VSiN Pro subscriber, vsin.com/subscribe. Sign up today, vsin.com/subscribe. Okay, so going back now, it's the 18th Game 7 in Stanley Cup Final. First since 2019. Road teams have won 3 in a row. Home teams, 12-5 all time. But what's amazing is that home teams in all sports, that was NHL, all sports, home teams have lost 6 straight Game 7s. The last home team to win a Game 7, the Miami Heat in 2013. Over 4,000 days it's been. And then between Canada hasn't won a cup since 93, the Michael Jordan angle, where the best player can win the trophy and win the cup, the Conn Smythe angle, where McDavid went from 18-1 after being down 0-3 to now minus 3,000 to win it, to the comeback and down 0-3 and how everything's flipped. I mean, it has all the makings tonight, and nothing better in sports than a Game 7. You know, some people not bothered by the fact that it's a Monday night. Also, thanks to the people pointing out, ABC has both. So Game 7 NBA Finals would have been yesterday if it played out that way. So that's one thing, but I know the league was concerned with the travel schedule as well. So here it is, Monday night, but Edmonton in Florida for all the marbles and all the makings tonight. And this is just going back. I mean, how many times can you sit here and look and say, I can't make the case for the Panthers, how bad it's been
you can make a case.
Back. Yeah?
You can make a case for the Panthers, sure.
Oh, it's hard.
Well, the team dominated the first 3 games of the series.
I will say 2 and 3, not Game 1.
Okay.
I thought Edmonton thoroughly outplayed them in Game 1. Bob was great, but it's also, how do you come out like that in Game 6? Shots on goal, 11-2 in the first period.
Yeah,
so it's Edmonton is really not only beating them, taking it to them here.
And again, Connor McDavid had no points and no shots in Game 6.
Yeah.
Leon Draisaitl hadn't scored a goal in the series.
How about that? I know.
There are a lot of things that are just bizarre about the way this series has played out. And here's a case you can make for the Florida Panthers. Be a contrarian, because that works a lot of times in handicapping.
That's
so
true.
Many people now think this series is over and Edmonton's going to win it, that you don't want to follow the masses necessarily. I'm not saying that I'm going to play the Florida Panthers tonight, but you can make a case. Well, certainly contrarian. And a pick'em game with the home team.
Contrarian would also take the over. I mean, look at the steam on this under now. And again, the history.
Sure.
And thanks to Brian who sent this in. But going back since 2015, unders are 29-12 in Game 7s. And in Stanley Cup Final, 14 of the last 15 have seen 5 goals or fewer. So you're seeing as high as 150 now. 155 now, the under for the game. But we've seen 4 straight overs in this series. And a lot of times the game explodes in the second period. We barely got there last game.
I would think
with
the first period under might be...
I'd rather do
like
that.
Jonathan Davis said, the first period under, you'd think they're going to be conservative, tight, very defensive in the way the first period's played. After that, who knows? All hell could break loose. But I think the first period under might be the look. Hey, how about our buddy Mike North, Chicago legend?
No doubt.
Radio host. He says... Connor McDavid's the leader. This on Twitter. McDavid's the leader and the best player on ice, but had no points in the last games. If he has a dud game and Edmonton wins the series 3-1, let's say they win tonight's game 3-1, how about the goalie? How about Skinner for Conn Smythe?
No
chance?
He got pulled in the Vancouver series. He didn't play well against the Kings other than one game. No. Can't do it. I love Mike North, but no. I thought he was going Bobrovsky there. I thought he was going Bobrovsky if it's 2-1 or a shutout. But I don't think people are asking me that over the weekend because there's so many people that have Bob tickets. I don't think he can get it even if he shuts them out. He's minus 3,000 for a reason.
Conn Smythe is an award given for the entire playoffs, not just the Stanley Cup Final. To me, it's just very strange. I've never seen anything like this where a guy goes, we're talking about MVP voting, a guy goes from minus 150 to minus $3.
Yeah.
And he doesn't score a goal or even take a shot, score a point, and then he goes to minus 3,000.
Yeah.
Going into the last game. How's that possible? Well, it's because I think what Jonathan Davis said, there's no other player you can make a really strong case for. That's why he's not going to say he's going to win it by default, but there's nobody else who's made a strong enough case to step up and steal the Conn Smythe, right?
Yeah. From
Skinner can't do it, Bobrovsky can't do it.
Well, here's what you were saying with Skinner, also let's go back not even to the first round, but if I asked this before the series to a guest, do you have more faith in Skinner or Bobrovsky? But I mean, what Skinner is, and Skinner now, games 4 through 7 of a series, 10-0, 9.43 save percentage, a 1.40 goals against average, goes against what he's doing. So this guy's been dialed in, and he's been great. And now it's Bob, who has just been lit up. And again, it's been 2 different series here. Going into the third period, before we started the third period of Game 3, it was 11-1 Florida. Now it's 20-5 Edmonton Sens. And again, what Ray Ferraro said on the broadcast Friday night, they are shook, they are frozen, they are stunned after what happened in Game 4 to lose 8-1. And then you come back and you're down 4-1 of the next game. You thoroughly outplay and dominated and lifeless in Game 1 of Game 6. And now it's Game 7. I mean, it's been all Edmonton the last 3 games in the third period of Game 3, outscoring them 20-5. And Bob has allowed 14 goals on the last 64 shots. Again, imagine if it's a softie and if it's 1-0 Edmonton 5 minutes in tonight. Yikes.
Wow, that's save percentage. Horrendous.
Yeah, no doubt. But again, the other story is the penalty kill, which I cannot believe, too, what they've done. To think the entire playoffs, you're -1. And what Davis said about the penalty kill and what's happened here.
You go back
46 of the last 47, and they've allowed 4 power play goals in the playoffs. Edmonton has 3 shorthanded, so they're -1. Yeah.
You go back to the end of Game 3, almost everyone said it was over, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Guilty as charged, no doubt.
Right.
Thought it was over. I was cashing my tickets.
So I'm not going to count out the Panthers here in Game 7. Hey, Nick Bogdanovich of Circus Sports, veteran Las Vegas bookmaker, says biggest choke of all time, Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah. I can't do it.
Even if the Panthers blow this, you still say the Atlanta Falcons, right?
Yeah. And then I would go Yankees in 04, number 2. And this is, again, this has been done before in hockey in the Stanley Cup Final, 1942. It's also been done 4 times in the Stanley Cup playoffs. NBA 157-0, MLB 39-1, NHL 206-4, 27-1 in the final. And you mentioned earlier the Red Wings in 45, losing at 7, but forcing a Game 7 as well. So you mentioned of being a first. This is also a first. We had a guy calling for more segments as a guest, and he never even made the first segment. I hope John's okay. But Bad Pete Moss on X, the Mitch's Parody account, fan of the show, good guy, he retweeted the article. But the Chicago Sun-Times article on John Chicago native sports bettor, made book for the mob in the 80s. Cops were on the payroll. He was making about $4,000 a week. And then just said, there's a great line in the article, if you work for the mob for 10 years, it's like working 30 at another job. And how would you get scores, and how are you making lines and using the paper, and then adding a point on to Chicago teams and how much they lost when the Bears won the Super Bowl in '86. It's a very good article.
Well, I think any bookmaker would tell you similar things about shading home teams and things like that. I mean, it's not like he worked for Al Capone's mob. It's not the same. The Chicago mob in the 80s is not the same. Hey, by the way, Eric, who is a longtime VSiN, I'll say fan, listener, he was listening to our conversation about Paul Skeens being Rookie of the Year, or Cy Young.
Yeah.
He found 80-1 out there in the market.
Right now?
Today. He tried to put in the bet at 80-1, and the book moved it to 66-1 and gave him a lower number. Yeah.
That should be illegal. That shouldn't be allowed.
It's an offshore book.
Yeah. That should not be allowed. Too many stories. I'm giving you information, and you're using it against me. That's not right. That's not fair. NBA draft Wednesday. Big moves here. Von Tobel with a 13-1 ticket, which is live. Jonathan Von Tobel up next, but I am not a tinfoil hat guy. I have to ask him, how concerned is he if Shams or Woj tweet something morning of? That's next on Follow the Money.